Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido called for the country to take the street Wednesday in what he said would be the largest march in the country's history as he attempts to gain support and force an ousting of President Nicolas Maduro. Let's bring this to the panel. This is a story that continues to worsen. Tendai, you look at the blackouts that we've seen in the country, the economic conditions clearly getting worse and worse. How do you see this being resolved?
Yeah, I think it's uncertain, right? A couple of months ago, I guess in January, when this kind of new president was recognized by a lot of countries around the world, it seemed there was a lot of momentum, and then it kind of fizzled out. So we'll see how far this particular episode of momentum again goes, and if we actually get a change in the government.
Scott, we've been focusing obviously on the political story, but this has had an effect on oil too because of the sanctions on Venezuelan oil exports too. I mean, what are you hearing? You're on the floor often about the kinds of headwinds this could create or how big of a risk the Venezuela situation is on the broader market.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have been seeing oil prices move higher, especially Brent, which is the international benchmark for oil prices, hitting almost $73 a barrel yesterday. That's a kind of a 6-month high. I think overall, though, for the markets, it's interesting. You would think that rising oil prices would be a problem for markets, but the markets actually like that because it kind of allays fears of global growth. So sometimes the market doesn't always look at why oil prices are rising, just the fact that they're rising. And if you look over the past year or so, we have seen stocks and oil prices move in lockstep. So a little bit of oil inflation, so to speak, could be a good thing for stocks.
Okay, and Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman asked presidential candidate Seth Moulton if the U.S. should intervene in Venezuela. Take a listen.
I don't think it's the right tactic, but I do support I support the regime change. I mean, Maduro is a terrible dictator.
Now, if you sense that it's close to a tipping point in a place like Venezuela and some sort of U.S. intervention might actually get Maduro out of there, should the United States do that?
I think that intervention should be the last possible option. It doesn't mean that you take it off the table completely.
So you heard Seth Moulton there, Tendai, saying that any kind of intervention would be a mistake. You agree?
Yeah, I guess, I'm not a kind of international relations analyst, but I don't know that there will be public support for an intervention in Venezuela.
Scott?
Yeah, I mean, this is certainly something we'll have to watch. I'm sure President Trump will be tweeting about it. He's tweeted about it in the past. And, there's kind of this Twitter diplomacy, right, that the president tends to use. He's certainly done that with North Korea a little bit. So we'll see if he kind of follows through with that when it comes to Venezuela.
Okay, and we'll get much more into Venezuela with our guest later on in the show.